like to welcome members of the public and councillors to our September meeting. The agenda, there's no change to the agenda. We'll take it as circulated. Item 1 is to receive apologies for absence, please, Rex.
Yes, Chair. Apologies from Councillor Kate Walker and Councillor Kelly Phillips, and also County Councillor Linda Danks.
Thank you. Can I propose we accept those absences? Do I have a seconder? It's James. All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you. Item 2 is to receive declarations of interest and to consider any request for dispensation in accordance with the Code of Conduct. Do we have any declarations of interest? Thank you, Councillor Lane. Item 3 is to agree and sign the minutes of the council meeting held on the 14th of July, which was Appendix 1.
Do
I have a seconder? Councillor Blackshaw. All those in favour? Agreed. Item 4 is to agree and sign the minutes of the extraordinary council meeting, which was held on the 31st of July, which was Appendix 2. Do you have any comments? Councillor Bennett.
Can I request an amendment, please, under 25/79? It's not mentioned that Councillor Lemon proposed the motion, whereas further on, the further motion is noted it was made by Councillor Walker, so I think for consistency we should have both proposers documented.
Well, I think that we normally don't say who proposed, so it would probably be more sensible to remove Councillor Walker, because that's, we don't normally do that. I think the reason I put that in is because she then left the meeting, so it was a bit confusing. But I'm happy to remove just what it was proposed and seconded.
With those amendments, yes?
Change,
Yes, thank you. All those in favour?
Yes.
That's agreed, thank you.
Chair, just a point of order, it wasn't seconded.
I think it was seconded.
You had Councillor Lemon proposing it. Who was your seconder?
Did you say?
I think I did, yes.
If not, I seconded it.
Hmm?
I seconded it, if you like. I can second it.
Oh, this now, yeah, thank you. All those in favour? Sorry, I was... Agreed. Sorry, I was confused with what you meant.
That's not the right one. I think you've got mine.
That's one you gave me. I gave you the wrong one. I've already signed the wrong one.
No, you haven't. Well, there's one. Oh, you have, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, I'll pass you the wrong one. I'll pass you the wrong one.
That's all right. I'll not say draft on it. It doesn't say draft on it.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So that's... That's yours. Are we there then?
We're there.
Item 5, public participation. Do we have any of the public who wish to speak this evening? Thank you.
Can I just check? Public participation, bullet point 2 says I'm only allowed 5 minutes. Is that 5 minutes of me talking or 5 minutes of the answers that follow?
Just you asking a question.
Cool. Right, yes. Question 1. The cricket pitch as is on the memorial thing deemed unsafe due to the striking distance of the ball. There are protections in place for the houses on the Little Lane side of the field, but there's no obvious protection in place for the kids' playground. If there's a striking risk of balls going that far, isn't it not dangerous to have made no protection for the playground and there's no signs to warn people about that near the playground? That feels a bit dangerous. Particularly given, I would assume that playground has been improved since the striking distance was deemed to be a problem. or have new things added to it in debate, or whether that's improved.
Okay. What shall we do about that, Ross?
I think
we
we'll
do
have
note it. And
Yeah, I'll
then-
have to look into that. I'm not
Yeah.
sure why that is the case
It
and
seems
whether it's
strange to
necessary.
put up fences to protect houses, but not children.
The children, yeah.
And if you do a positive act to protect a house but not a child, in terms of negligence law, you've made a statement of not protecting children.
Mhm.
It would seem that it seemed like bare minimum you should put a sign to say there is a danger whilst cricket is being played in this area.
Yeah, thank you for your
It's an
comments.
interesting question. It was all before my time, so
Yeah.
It's fine. It's fine. It's just
No, it's a good
I
question.
wasn't aware of it, and I wasn't aware that there was a striking distance problem. I assumed that fences fixed it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Does anybody else? Don't think of it. It's apparent from I remember it's bullet point F from the previous agenda regarding the establishment of the subcommittee. I'm curious as to what process it has been decided to need a subcommittee for the new piece of work at Seaton Road, given we appear to be 5 to 6 years into that plan and there only appears to be 2 years remaining on that plan. So I would like if the council could speak to why there is a need for a subcommittee, or why there hasn't been a need for a subcommittee but there is a need for a subcommittee now. And it was noted in the minutes of the EGM that it would be an increase in public participation.
Yeah.
And it would seem that if there is a movement to a subcommittee, I don't know, it's Articles of Association, how that is increasing public participation.
Well, the subcommittee will be responsible for the wider reference, which will include the public and organisations within the village. So that will be there in their remit to organise the public participation. But the subcommittee consists of councillors.
It says it consists of 3 councillors and other people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the increasing of the public is not structured into the committee
No, I
itself.
beg your pardon. There will be people from the organisations as well within the subcommittee.
Do we consider, and this is a very sociological definition of the word public, do we consider people related to those organisations to be the public, as opposed to, say, me, Lady Bear, the man at the end, who aren't, I sponsor one of the football clubs, but I wouldn't describe that as a, and so I would set myself as a separate element of what a public is compared to people that are associated with those teams, because, sure.
Yes.
I mean,
Well, certainly. Sorry, shall I come?
Yes.
Because I think there are 2 or 3 things in your question. One is there's been a working group of the council to look at the scheme since 2019, which was kind of re-established in 2021. This is my recommendation that we make it a formal subcommittee, so that because of all the attention, so it sits more clearly, and its membership is understood, and its terms of reference are understood, because that was also one of the things that came out of the various questions that were put to council when it considered this. So I thought, bring that back here. The other reference in that meeting on the 31st of July was to a wider group that needs to be set up, a reference group, which would include members of the public, beyond, if you like, those members of the public who are football or cricket or other sports related. And so that would be the intention. We're not at that stage yet, but the subcommittee will look at that and consider who could be sitting on that and invite some membership to
So,
it.
in terms of the Articles of Association or the terms of reference, I'm not sure. My brain is going for founding articles in charity kind of sense. I'm accusing you of being charitable just in how things are formed founded. Is that is going to be put in place with a distinct time frame for increasing the membership to the public? Because I assume it has to be instantiated in some form. As an example, so is someone who's on the allotment waiting list going to be in there? Because if this new resource is going to feature allotments, it would feel like logically someone to speak for the, without saying full Dr. Zeus, someone to speak for the allotment holders would seem logical. Whereas if it's all football team and football people, then the allotment holding community, for want of a bastardisation of the English language, aren't represented.
Yes, I mean, I've got this good idea. I think we can take that on board, but that will be the wider reference group. It wouldn't be a formal group like the subcommittee, so it would mean that the membership could be, fluid and as wide as possible without making it unwieldy. So there's no reason why there shouldn't be allotment holders. It's a good idea, in my view, but we will bring that back to the subcommittee who would sign that off. But certainly I would be happy to include.
I'm conscious I'm getting here 5 minutes. I think I think there would be a temptation to argue that for somebody to be on the committee in its formal sense, who would be of no overall association with any of the bodies, just someone who could represent just an average person in the village. I don't know how you would do that, but it would feel that way you might have a broader spectrum of views.
It's quite hard to do, given that the committee obviously is made up primarily of elected councillors who obviously have a mandate to represent people in the village. So to kind of co-opt somebody of equal status to those who are elected is without a special interest, could be seen to be undermining the elected mandate that members have. So we have to be careful there. I think if there's a particular interest, like the allotments, but to say suddenly the council would create a member of the public who had equal status to the councillors present would itself be somewhat problematic, I think. But
they are referring back though, so they would only have the power to refer back correctly.
Well,
everything
not even, sorry.
Everything would still be going through a vote at formal council.
No, the subcommittee would have delegated, like committees do, have delegated authority.
I wasn't aware they would. I wasn't, from what I read in the minutes, it didn't stipulate there would be distinctly delegated powers.
Right. No, that's in the paper that's at the meeting here tonight, actually, on the agenda. So,
thank you.
I hope that clarifies that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry for my mistake earlier. Moving on to item 6, information from the chair.
Sorry, Chair. I believe there was an email sent to the parish officers by a member of the public that wasn't able to come tonight, and they wanted you to ask a question on their behalf.
Yeah, I can't do that. There's no provision that allows me to ask a question.
Shall I do it then for them, as they've reached out to, they copied me into the email, and they are a constituent, and they've reached out asking for a question to be heard in front of council.
I have replied to the person.
I haven't seen a reply, so...
sorry. Well, I replied to the individual who sent it.
Again, I haven't seen that, sorry.
Yeah.
So can I ask a question on their behalf? Because I've asked for it to be minuted.
Not under the standing order to do with public participation, because you're not a member of the public, you're a member of the council in this case. So.
Oh, interesting, because at the planning policy meeting, the deputy manager said that if an elected member reaches out to us, a constituent, then we have every right to ask a question in public participation. The chair allowed it.
You wouldn't ask it in public participation, you would ask it on the agenda item. So, for instance, if on a planning issue a member of the public had approached you on that item, that's when you would raise it. So if it was on the agenda tonight, you could raise it, obviously, because that would be part of the normal business. But clearly the public participation is what it says, is to give members of the public an opportunity to speak to the council. And it shouldn't be usurped by councillors, really, doing that. So I've replied to the gentleman who sent in the question saying that we will, in the office, seek to answer it, rather than he wait until October. But he obviously still has the right to come to the October meeting if he's not satisfied with the answer that we give him. Meanwhile,
I do apologise for asking a follow-up question. How do we allow members of the public that have a physical disability that would not permit them to come and ask the questions in front of full council? What accessibility do we have available to them?
that's a good question. It depends what their disability is. We would obviously seek to do whatever we could, given the notice for that, whether that would be done virtually or
We've got
some
wheelchair
other way.
access,
Yeah. I mean, I don't know until we're fronted with the circumstances, but if we had a request like that, I'm sure councillors and myself would want to see if we could ensure that person could ask the question. Now, that isn't the case with the gentleman. He's away
far from it.
on holiday or whatever.
Didn't mention that. Thank you for answering.
Okay.
I'm sorry, we've moved on now.
Oh, okay. Well, I was just going to say, if Councillor Ben wanted to give it to me, I can ask it.
So information update from the chair and the parish manager. Ross, do you have any updates?
You want to go first, please?
Yeah, okay. So August was a very busy month. We had revival, and I'd like to thank those councillors who came along to help, and of course Ross, who is now a practiced banner bearer. Our stall was very well received. It's the second year we've had a stand at the revival, and it really is worth the effort. I was delighted to present the trophies for the Best Front Garden competition, another venture in its second year, which goes from strength to strength, and thank you, Liz, for helping me with that. I represented council also at the Mount Sorrel by the Sea, had lots of children there. It was a really hot day, and they put me in charge of the inflatable slide, which was different. The 15th of August, I was honoured to raise the VJ flag and attend the VJ concert at St Peter's. And last week, I had a very good meeting with the new head teacher at the school. She's very keen to become more involved with the village and with council itself, and also with Montserrat. I think this is a good step in the right direction. This week I met with the, I met with the Friends of Castle Gardens and heard their exciting plans, and I think we'll all agree they've made a real difference to the park there. The Scarecrow Festival is coming up, and we're going to help them have a scarecrow outside, which is going to be a copy of William Marshall. So a night outside. So anybody who wants to come and help make a scarecrow, I'll let you know and you can help. And this week, of course, is the Tarmac Liaison meeting, where along with councillors Benner, Blackshaw, and I'm not sure Paul's back, and Harris, will be attending the liaison meeting. So if you have any comments, if you put your comments to any of those councillors, I'm sure they'll put them forward at the meeting for you. Thank you, Ross.
Paul on holiday? Paul on holiday?
I think he was on holiday. He told me he was going on holiday and he'd
No,
be
it's
back.
just that he never got his... If I'd known that, I would have said he hasn't got it on.
Just a few things, Chair. Jane Wainwright, the admin assistant to the council, retired on the 31st of August after 11 years with the council. She's the longest serving employee of the council currently. Also, Henry O'Hacker resigned as a councillor. Members may already know this. He decided for reasons that he wanted to be more involved in village life before he decided to take up the role. So we will have a vacancy, which we hope to bring back to the October meeting if we manage to do the process in time. The new play equipment at the Little Lane War Memorial Fields playground is now finished. There's still a fence around it because the people who've installed it, the installers haven't had it inspected yet to pass its safety, and it has to be, so we can't let children use it until it's been inspected, which is a bit unfortunate that they didn't actually plan that. They were supposed to do it the day after they finished the work, but the work was delayed because of the damage to the play area, the surface, but they are coming fairly soon. The external repair work to the pavilion on the first floor has been completed. If you see it, it looks very good compared to what it was before. So the water is not getting in any longer, and hopefully the building is secure and safe. And last but not least, but Tina, our gardener, had returned to work today after 3 months absence on extended sick leave due to an injury that she sustained. So just a few things from me. Thank you, Jane.
Thank you, Ross. Councillor Benner.
I note, obviously, the retirement of Jane. Are we arranging a meal to go out with her to celebrate her long service and her retirement? Are we doing anything to celebrate it with her?
I did send out an email about getting her a gift, and some councillors did contribute to that. Which I'll take around. Sorry?
I owe you a tenner.
Yes.
So the answer would be no then, just a leaving gift.
Well, I don't know. Do council it's up to council whether they wish to do that. But I did acknowledge her retirement, and I took it round to her house with a card thanking her. And I did actually send that out to all councillors. Councillor Hollier.
Could we notice in the minutes our thanks on behalf of the council for her service?
Yes, we must do that, of course. So are you proposing that you want to do that, Councillor Benner? Is that something
I
you
think we should reach out and see if there's something she would like to do with
would
council.
to do that?
Don't
Is it
believe I can do that on my delegation.
Okay. Well, shall we have a vote then? Can we-
Well, I don't know. I
Well, I don't know how we
don't think
handle this
I
one.
don't think it's appropriate to instruct staff
No, I don't
to
think so.
hold a dinner for leaving staff. But
No.
if members wanted to
I
volunteer,
think
there's
it's
problem.
probably right. I think that's something
It's a
that
voluntary thing, really.
yeah, the councillors could discuss together if they wish to do that.
Just, I mean, in workplace law, they sometimes employers will give a voucher for a meal, not necessarily take a man.
We did have a collection for a gift for her, which I took round.
Yes, it's on its way.
Yeah, thank you. I don't think we can. Yeah, I think Ross is right. I don't think we can. I can do a formal thing that we take someone out for a meal. Really, it's a voluntary thing, as you say.
Well, when other staff have left, colleagues have got together and done that, and that happens in most workplaces. So that's down to colleagues to do that. Or if I don't think it's ever happened that councillors have done it. So.
No,
Not in the short time I've been here.
No, I don't recall. I don't recall at all.
But you can do it, but I would suggest it is a voluntary thing.
I think there may be some confusion over my question. It was just a general question of someone that has been the longest serving member of staff. Has anybody arranged for a meal to say thank you?
The answer to that is no, we haven't.
Thank you.
But I did take round a gift in a car thanking her. Okay.
Noted.
Item 8. To approve the expenditure for July detailed... reports of the county and borough councillors. Sorry, Lee. How could I jump to that without listening to what you've got to say to us?
Thank you, Councillor Farrell. Hi, everybody. Ross has answered 2 of my questions already. There's no changes to public protection orders for any of our parks. I know there's an awful lot on social media about the concern that there'll be changes and dogs on leads, etc., etc. But there's no changes, which is a relief. As a dog walker, so I have to mention that I'm one of those. In June, Cabinet approved the locker scheme, the capital funding for locker scheme. So that will be for the council to get the application in to get the locker scheme for the flood locker scheme.
Oh, I see.
So that's really good. There's money available there, and I think we need with the village that we've got as well. Was it elementary flooding? I think the cricket really in Ross it looks super. They did a really good job in a quite a short space of time. I think they were really good with the scaffolding as well, because that was all protected, which obviously has to be, doesn't it? So, but they've done a super job. It looks excellent. Really does look excellent. And then my third point was a metal fence around the new play area equipment, which Ross you've answered already. Thank you. I have been working with some residents, as I think Councillor Blackshaw has, about the concerns over the planning application, particularly the wall, which is at the end of the People's Garden on Danvers Road. Next accessibility to pump houses there just seems to be inappropriate, but I do know from the parish you've actually raised concerns, as has Councillor Blackshaw. And I think that's really it from me. Just say thank you for all the great work that you do for the village.
Thank you.
I know it's hard, and it's really appreciated from a borough perspective.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any questions or comments for Lee? Thank you very much, Lee.
Thank you.
Councillor Batchel.
Lee, I don't know if you've picked up yet, but there will be a special meeting on March 23rd to approve the local plan. So that will finally go through. It's taken its time, so it's got there and it's getting there in the end. I wanted to particularly mention the Charnwood Community Heroes, where 4 people who were from or associated with Mount Sorrel were given awards. Jeff Wainwright for as many years as a volunteer driver of John Storer House. Mickey Eilert for her many years as the trustee and chair of Mount Sorrel United Charities and Mount Sorrel Community Sport Fund. And I'm not sure how, is it Sarah Jones or Soraya Jones? Sarah Jones, thank you, for her litter picking, which is even done on the back of a paddleboard, and I saw her using ropes to scale the rock face below the war memorial.
Yeah.
Doing all of that, and anti-knot, and of course we're going above and beyond. We also have sports awards coming up, and nominations are still open for that, but close on the 28th of September. There's information on the report about the electoral register, and I encourage you to talk to anyone that you think may have had a postal vote before October in 2023 and get them to re-register their postal vote, otherwise they will lose it. Something that I forgot to put on this report is the consultation on car parks. This won't particularly affect Mount Sorrow, it is community car parks that we're looking at, but it will affect Bourne Car Park. So members might want to have a look on the, just Google Charnock Borough Council consultations and it will come up for the car park strategy. So you can have your say individually, you can encourage other people to have their say. If council wishes to make a formal response, then they can do. Other bits, Business Connect in Charnwood, it's not a typo, it really is run into one word. They're also involved in the Heritage Open Days as well, and there's all sorts of interesting things going on at the centre, in the centre of Loughborough, where they're looking at the demographics of all the different areas and stuff. It's really fascinating. The other one that particularly impacts upon us is Charnwood Geopark, which I just think is a marvellous project and will really set the area on the world stage. So fingers crossed that gets accepted and we get the UNESCO Global Geopark status. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Batshaw. So moving on now to item 9 is to approve the expenditure for July, detailed in Appendix 3. Good night, Lynn. Bye-bye. Thank you for coming. So do we have any questions or comments on the July expenditure?
Non-proposal?
Yeah.
Or can I do it?
Yeah.
Propose it.
I think you can. Yes. Do I have a seconder? And all those in favour? That's carried. Item 9 is to approve the expenditure for August, detailed in Appendix 4.
Propose it, sir.
Would anybody want to make any comments before we have a seconder? No? You happy?
Thank you, Chair. Questions were answered by email earlier.
Okay. Anybody would like to second that, please? Councillor Batshaw, all those in favour? It's carried, thank you. Item 10 is to consider a report on acquiring an electric vehicle for the council. Did you want to speak to this?
Briefly, Chair. I mean, it went to Project and Amenities Committee. They asked for some more information. Rather than delay this, I thought bring it to council with the extra information. So we have looked, and we had looked previously, but the report didn't contain the information, I think, at what some of the councils do, particularly at Quorn. I mean, they have a vehicle for different purposes than we require, because they have a grounds maintenance team, whereas we have really 2 people or 3 people. We don't do the mowing and the big work. We do small work. So we don't need a vehicle. They have a flatbed vehicle. We need a small van. So the drivers would primarily be the team of 3 that are out and about in the village. Was one other question, and the main purpose is really to collect the litter of dog waste in particular, and without going into too much graphic detail, it is not, in no way would we ever be able to ask our staff to put dog waste in their car. We did once and the bag burst, and I think the car was almost unusable because the smell never went. So this is one of the reasons why we need, and there are, I mean, it's a huge amount that we collect. I mean, it's more, sometimes in bins, more than one person can carry, which shows you that people do put the waste in the bin, which is good. But with the bins we have, then the litter collector, litter picker goes around, our member of staff obviously collects up all the bins and then takes it to the large bins that are then taken away by the waste collectors. So that's the primary reason, but it has other reasons. We move things around in the village and collect things from time to time, like for instance the new fridge and new freezer at the cricket pavilion had to be collected, purely because we know what delivery firms are like. They say they'll deliver somewhere between 8 and 6, and so it's often something easier for us to go and collect. We have looked at the costs. We think that if council isn't particularly decided, we could go for as short as a 1-year lease on a second-hand vehicle. The budget provision has been in the budget for 2 years now to pay for this. And at the moment, the litter picker is using his own van, which I don't think he will be able to do much longer because the van will probably not survive much longer in terms of its age and roadworthiness. So, you know, we have other options, of course, as always, but the simplest and probably the most cost-effective would be to have a van that could be used for that purpose primarily and other purposes. And this was discussed at the budget meeting, and money was put in the budget, not last year but the year before. So the recommendation is that we lease, as I say, we could do it on a second-hand vehicle for a year, would be the shortest time, which would kind of be a pilot really of the scheme if members wanted to do it that way. And obviously it's useful for us because we think it will work, but you don't really know until you try these things. Corn's vehicle charges on a 13 amp socket because they don't use it. We wouldn't, the van would hardly ever leave the village. It would probably do 20 miles a week, 25 miles a week. So again, it could charge on a domestic socket either here during the daytime or if it was stored somewhere else where it's stored. So it doesn't involve at this stage expensive, you know, changes and dedicated parking spaces and that sort of thing. And Corn use theirs much more than we would in terms of the amount of mileage, and theirs is happy on a domestic 13 amp recharging. And we chose electric for obvious reasons. I mean, right from the beginning we felt it was the right way to be going for the council in terms of sustainability. So I'm happy to try and answer any questions if there are any, Chair.
So, could I have your comments? Yes,
Sorry,
Councillor
just I mean, perhaps in your document, Ross, I apologise. So I know it might only be a year, but would that be a maintenance included? I mean, it's only a year, so there wouldn't be a lot of maintenance necessarily on a...
Yes, it can be. Yeah, there are different prices, but we would probably go for a maintenance included arrangement. We would have to insure it and obviously pay for electricity.
Sorry, have you looked into insurance costs? I mean, I don't think it'd be huge for, you know...
It isn't huge, we haven't. I mean, we tried to get a quote, but they wanted to know what the registration number was.
Okay.
And our insurers, the council's insurers, don't insure vehicles.
Yeah.
So we'd have to go to a commercial, you know, insurers or, you know, the normal car insurers that we all go to.
I mean, my personal view is I think it's unreasonable to carry on asking staff for those duties. Staff change, you might have access to the van. And I think, you know, from a public perspective, the van would be visible. I think you said you're going to have magnetic signs, so you don't need any special livery other than the signs, which I think work really well. And yeah, I think it sent a good message that you're sort of doing, you're visible in the village and you're doing stuff around the village, and it'd be good for the workers as well, because I think they probably get fed up with cleaning the cars out.
They do, I'm afraid.
So
Thank you.
I'd be certainly all for it.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Hollier.
Can I just ask on the lease option, because there's a potential of like spoilage in the back of the vehicle, what would the implications be for the council if that couldn't be cleaned or cleared up, or would we then be in a position where we've got to purchase it?
Comment?
Yeah.
I mean, I've got a lease vehicle myself, and normally there's a handback condition. So if it's a maintenance vehicle that you maintain yourself, you've got the obligation.
Yeah.
If it's maintained, you don't. But in terms of fair wear and tear, there's a document. So if there's scratches and things, and there'll be a handback. And if it fails the handback condition, you have to pay.
Yes.
So I think that if the vehicle's particularly dirty and it needs some work, then you'd have to pay. So it'd be under our duty to keep it clean and serviced. But accessible in terms of condition for use, not maintenance sort of thing.
And I would suspect that we would have it professionally validated at the end if we handed it back, which would get rid of it. But you can't expect to do that every week, or we can pay for a member of staff to do that every week.
You can take out insurance. I have done insurance on, it's a carbo, but on bodywork and protection and tyres and alloys, because you don't want to know they're quite expensive to repair. But this is a working van; it shouldn't be as stringent, I would have thought. But you know. And experience says the longer you have it on the lease, the cheaper it gets on the lease per year. But obviously that's a leap of faith that it's going to work. And you know.
Any other comments?
Sorry.
Any other comments? Would you like to make any sort of...
So just one other thing, and I know Ross will probably have it covered, you will need a driver policy, you know, a approved driver list and things like that for people to be able to take that vehicle out.
Yes, absolutely.
Driving licence, copy.
Well, we will have to provide driving licences and insurance now anyway, and business insurance. If you, for any of us, even when I deliver proposed to the councillors I need
Yeah.
insurance coverage for that, which we pay for ourselves at the moment. So in some ways this does benefit staff as well, because those 3 staff wouldn't have to then use their own vehicles and pay the extra, which can be hundreds of pounds. It's not for me for some reason, but I know for one of our staff it's about £300 a year that they pay
That's
at the moment to do council work, which is again, hardly seems fair. They could easily turn around and say we're not doing it. They don't.
Would be in line with our environmental and biodiversity policy as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So we've got 2 recommendations, haven't we? One is to delegate to the parish manager the details and arrangements for the leasing of a small vehicle within the budget parameters set by council, plus any upfront cost to be met from reserves, as the budget provision was not used last year and was transferred into general reserves. And 2.2 is to explore the use of a used van to achieve a potential cost saving, and the vehicle would have Mount Sorrel Parish Council livery using magnetic panels. So they're 2 different recommendations, aren't they?
But they're connected, obviously.
Connected. So do we have any proposals?
I might propose the first one for the lease vehicle.
To lease a small vehicle?
Yeah.
Do we have a seconder?
second.
Councillor Backshaw. All those in favour? That's carried.
3, 4, 5, 6.
Any against? Good.
Perfect.
Sorry. Item 11. To consider a project update and the terms of reference and the membership of a subcommittee of the Projects and Amenities Committee to deal with matters relating to the Sports and Recreation Project, which was Appendix 6.
Sorry, yes, Chair. Briefly as an update, and the reason there's no written report is because there's not a great deal to update. The damage caused by the contractors that were to install the tiny forest has been repaired and reseeded, and that's all been funded and paid for by Earthwatch, so there's no cost to the council. The cricket square has now been established and is being mowed. There's still some weeds on there, but we're assured by our contract managers and the contractor that the more they mow them, they will eventually die off, which is what the plan is. So people do, I know some people have been quite alarmed because they've seen these quite big weeds growing out, but what we're told, and there is not to believe that, of course, is the more they're mowed, they eventually don't survive anymore, they die off. And of course, what's happened over the summer, of course, very little work could be done, no fertiliser could be put on because it was so dry. But now that it's rained in these last few weeks, it's made a big difference to the area. We did have some people break the fence down, which was a bit unfortunate, but that's now been repaired, and the work is on schedule in terms of being completed by next spring. So that by way of an update. The report here is really, as I explained in public question time, setting up a subcommittee which can meet as and when it needs to, which is really just making more formal the existing arrangements of a project group or working party, with the terms of reference here for members to consider, and also which isn't made very clear, so I apologise for that, we would need to appoint the other members to the committee this evening if we could as well, Chair. So there would be the members that are recommended, which is the Chair of Council, the Chair of Project Meetings Committee, myself or the Deputy Manager, and the planning advisors of the Council, whoever that might be at any time, and 2 members of the Borough Council, and 1 member each of the Football Club and the Cricket Club. That mirrors the current membership essentially, plus there are 3 other councillors as well, I think. Yes, so there are, seems to have lost that bit, but there are...
No, myself and Lee.
Yeah, there are then 3 representatives, plus, yeah, it does say 3 representatives, so then there are 3 that I would ask Council to appoint this evening, if this is agreed, of course. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Councillor Bennett.
Yeah, I'm surprised to see this on the agenda because a point of order, I was looking for a motion to overturn the decision that was made at the EM meeting on the 31st, where we did approve A, being that the Projects and Amenities Committee shall continue to be responsible for overseeing the scheme. And standing orders means that this would need to go to Projects and Amenities because that's what we resolved. And I can't see any motion by 2 councillors or 3, depending on how you want to read our standing orders, to bring it to this committee and overturn the decision. Are we being lawful or in breach of the standing orders? Because my concern is that if we don't follow our standing orders as councillors, we're the ones that are liable for not following our protocols.
Well, it's an interesting question. The reason it's here, not a Project and Amenities Committee, is because of, again, the time of setting it up, and that's not until the end of October, I think, the next Project and Amenities Committee. So the way that I don't think it's not I wouldn't consider it a breach of standing orders. It's not exactly what was agreed in the sense that, but because Project and Amenities Committee is a committee of council, like all committees, council can also act as in its stead if it chooses to. It doesn't have to. You could refer it back to Project and Amenities Committee. It's not it's not a major issue apart from the timescale, as I said. So normally a committee would set up a subcommittee, but council can also set up committees and subcommittees. So I don't think it requires an overturning of that decision because council in the end always can overrule well, can't overrule, but it can act instead of a committee.
Where does that say that in our standing orders that the council can act instead of a committee? Because I received an email from the deputy manager asking for our availability to have an extraordinary meeting with the Projects and Amenities, and then we had a follow-up email to say that you had made a decision to bring it to full council.
You did, because I asked Ian to do that, but we didn't actually have enough people saying they could attend on any one date to make a meeting corporate, which is the other reason it's here. So I tried to think, well, we'll call an extraordinary meeting of the Project and Amenities Committee to deal with this, but in that timescale that we had before this meeting, there were not enough people on any one day to make the meeting quorum. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Second part of my question, where does it say in standing orders that the council can, what you said a minute ago, that the council can discuss the matters relating to projects and amenities without going to the committee? Because where I've read throughout it, it says that the committee has the delegated power, and our minutes are quite clear as to what's been written and what power has been granted to them. At the EM meeting, councillors, 3 of us, asked for it to be brought to full council to discuss, and that was outvoted, and a new resolution was made to bring all decisions. So it is clear that councillors around the table's intention is to discuss it at that particular committee meeting. So again, I asked the question, are we being lawful in relation to our standing orders? Because I can't find anywhere in there that states what you're telling me.
Well, it's not unlawful, it's up to council, because council is in the sense that it can't overturn a committee decision, but where a committee can't meet, it can take a decision. Also, there are certain things that aren't delegated to committees. Of course, committees have delegated spending power up to a certain limit, then it's reserved to council. So there is a precedent, there is a system in place where committees, whilst they have a lot of authority and subcommittees have authority, council has the most authority in terms of things like spending money, because committees are capped in terms of how much they can spend. So it's not unprecedented. It's out of the ordinary purely because we couldn't get a meeting, and the Project Committee is a long way off.
But the reason I push is that that's not referenced anywhere in the recommendations or the reason for bringing it to full council. And again, I stand by the point that we are at liberty of being reported to the monitoring officer by constituents for not following due process in our standing orders. But I find it interesting that you mention our financial regulations, because in your recommendations you would like the councillors to authorise expenditure on a subcommittee for up to the value of 20,000. We don't have a budget heading in the projects and amenities for 20,000. So where would that money be allocated to, and what budget header from? And also, if it's made up of non-councillors, how will they be following the standards, code of conduct, financial regs, standing orders, when they're not members of elected office? They will be making decisions on behalf of council without council being able to approve their decisions or recommendations, because they're making those decisions.
The last part's the easiest part to do with chair. And subcommittees, only councillors have a vote, although the subcommittee can consist of more than councillors. But standing orders, I think, without even looking at them, are clear that when it comes to a vote, it's the councillors who vote, not the other members who are there. For instance, I don't have a vote, or the football clubs wouldn't have a vote. So the county, in the sense that there's a decision to be taken, and most decisions aren't taken, won't be taken there.
Just on that point there, so you're asking councillors around the table to delegate authority to 3 councillors to oversee the project management and ensuring the project plans are produced, ensuring budgets. No, 3 people can vote. 3 people can vote.
It's fine.
No.
It's fine.
Chair of council, chair of project meetings plus
Okay,
3
so
councillors.
again, but again, you're taking that decision making away from council, but also section 102 brackets 3 of the 1972 Act, it basically applies to councils, committees, subcommittees that are committee for regulating and controlling the finance of a local authority of their area. So by virtue of section 13.1 and 7 of the Local Government and Housing Act 1989, non-councillor members and committee subcommittees, they don't have the voting rights.
Yeah.
But you could argue that section 3 of the Parish and Community Councils Committee Regulations 1990, section 2476, confirms that non-councillor members and committees may have the voting rights in respect of management of land owned and occupied by the council. However, they reference it here that the term management does not include money making decisions about the total amount of money which can be spent by the council in a financial year in respect of land. And so it goes on and on and on. I don't know why we're even discussing this around the table. We've resolved on the 31st that it should be at the Projects and Amenities meeting, but now you want the decision process taken away from councillors to then a subcommittee that will be running it. We've asked for a project manager, that's not going ahead. We've asked for it to be brought to full council, that's not going ahead. And now, it's a mess, absolute mess. The public getting involved, and when the public asked the question of this subcommittee that you're asking council to consider, can the public be part of that? The answer was, will it be down to them to make that decision as to whether the public will be involved? That's not right.
Can I ask a question?
Can I just sort of comment?
Yeah,
Well,
can
just
you
a couple of facts, I suppose, Chair, is that the regulations that Councillor Benner has quoted apply to this council, for instance, in the way it conducts business with the War Memorial Fields Trust, i.e. when it manages land. And of course on that, those meetings can be separate because it's a trust. So that's what that, I think, is referring to. It is very clear in the legislation that when it comes to spending money, only councillors can vote, and that's why the cooperative members don't have a vote, and that is clear. So there's no confusion about that. The thinking behind this is that for a long time the council has had a working group that looks at this project, and there's been quite a lot of criticism of people not understanding how that works and who's a member of it, what its terms of reference are. So this is really just an attempt to make that clearer and to do it as quickly as possible. Now, if council wishes to defer it to the Project and Amenities Committee, that's up to council. All I'm doing by bringing it here is to try and do that quickly and speedily so that people can see what the management structure is. You could change the delegation of the amount of money. That's not a given. It's up to this meeting to decide whether it should have any ability to spend money or not. It doesn't have to have the ability to spend money. We're not usually required to spend money that quickly. So that it couldn't be referred to projects and amenities. It just means that small bills could be settled if they needed to be. So there's nothing going on there. It certainly isn't a mess. The other sort of issues, I think, are that a member of the public wouldn't be sitting on this committee for the same reason I explained earlier that they could obviously sit on the wider.
That's not
reference
the
group.
question I posed to you. That was the information and the decision-making process, where if we did it at council level of the projects and amenities, they would be able to come in the public gallery and ask the questions, whereas the question that was posed to you by the member of the public was, would we be able to see the decisions being made? And you responded back to say, I quote verbatim, subcommittees will decide on who they feel will be fit for the wider reference group. So you're giving them that power to then take away from the constituents that we serve as a parish council for the wider group.
Not at all, Chair. No, I mean, the only proposal is to set something up which is within the council's governance structure. You know, we have council, we have committees, and we have no subcommittees at present. It's simply to change what is an informal relationship of a working group into a more formal one. So I think that's the intention here. The wider reference group can have members of the public. The reason I explained that the public wouldn't be on a subcommittee, because how would the council decide which member of the public it should be unless they had an interest because they represented one of the groups involved, when in fact you're elected, so therefore you have precedence, whereas you would actually be deciding to give somebody else equal say, and I think that would be usurping your role. I think that's the phrase I used. So it's up to council. You don't have to give the subcommittee spending powers. That's not a problem. The council could just have this as a subcommittee that makes day-to-day, supports me in making day-to-day decisions about the project, guides it, steers it, as indeed the working group has done since 2019. So it's very clear in my view. It's not a mess at all. Thank you.
My proposal, sorry, I've not finished. So my proposal is that this is referred back to the projects and amenities meeting, which was agreed at the EM meeting, and also that a second terms of reference is supplied as an advisory subcommittee rather than a decision-making one. So we have two options to discuss.
Yeah, okay, I understand. Well, just for clarification, there's no such thing as an advisory subcommittee. I think then it would just be a working party or whatever. You're either a subcommittee or you're not a subcommittee. I think so. You would be a working group, which is fine. I mean, that would be what it would be.
According to now, there is an advisory subcommittee header, and there's quite a lot of guidance on there.
Not in our standing orders, there isn't. So I mean, that's what I'm saying. Other councils may have them, but we don't at the moment. Oh, sorry.
So,
and
we have your proposal, Councillor Lennon.
second.
Authorising expenditure on consultants and expert advice up to 20k is the only funding that group would make. I would suggest that you take that out and recommend to the amenities committee. Then this committee can go ahead because it's not making any decisions for it.
Do we have a seconder, by the way, for Councillor Bennett's
I was going to make a
proposal?
comment.
Yeah, I'll come back to
Yeah,
your
no,
questions. Do we have a seconder?
Can I just ask a quick question before I do that? The original Sporting Alliance, what was that classed as? Was that classed as a working group, an advisory group?
No, what it was
Chair, point of order.
Yeah, sorry.
It's not a council vehicle.
Thank you.
So it's
Councillor
not.
Bennett.
It's something that's been set up independently of the council. The council haven't set it up. So the difference here is that we are proposing to set something up within the council governance framework. The Sporting Alliance exists in the village, if you like, as a group of people who have come together to look after the interests of sporting clubs in the village.
And so is that the project group that you were referring to in the introduction? Is that?
No, that was an ad hoc group that's been set up. The first reference I can find to it is in 2019 when it was set up. And there were 5 councillors on it and the people that were mentioned here. And then it was reformed in 2021, just to make, for clarification, it was brought to project and meetings, I think, or maybe in council, I can't remember. And the membership was the same, really, so it's just...
So on that, sorry, just to clarify, was that classed as a working group then, or was that was certainly not a subcommittee?
No, it wasn't a subcommittee.
It was a working group.
Yeah, it was a working group, yeah. Oh, yes, working party working group.
So, are you wanting to second that motion?
Yeah, I'll
Councillor
second that.
Lennon. Sorry, Councillor Lennon.
Well, the only thing I can see is the 20k that's a problem, which, if it's recommended by this committee, it can go back to the Project and Amenities Committee, which would be, even if you had to call a special meeting for it. But I can't see any problem with what you've got down there.
So are you suggesting an amendment to the proposal? That we take out the...
Yeah, just take the 20 grand out. The committee can recommend to the projects and amenities, because it's not going to spend anything else. Not going to do anything with the pavilion or anything like that. And all it is authorising expenditure of consultants and experts' advice. So, therefore, as and when required, we can get somebody in, and it might take a couple of weeks anyway, but at least, you know, it's all done and sorted, because this can go on forever and ever if you've not got a working party that is pushing it through, getting everything done, and making sure that everybody knows everything.
Yeah, I'm not sure that constitutes an amendment as such. Councillor Moss?
Oh, sorry, it's not an amendment. I've already made some comments about the requirement for this subcommittee. I'm new to the council and the projects and amenities and the Greater Council, but since I've been a little bit involved and been to talk to Ross about the history of this thing, this project, however it manifests itself in the end, needs some control. It's crying out for it, because if I said to Ross, what's the latest plan, it's very difficult to put your hand on that. So the things you've listed in the purpose of this subcommittee, are that as a minimum, and perhaps other things that you've not even thought about. So, in my experience, and I have a little bit of experience with projects, is, you have one source of truth in terms of what the latest plan is, what the scope is, what the budget is, what the programme is, what the timescales are, what the gate reviews are. The project team does that, and this is the project team, and you bring people on board as required to make sure that you can control things that you can control, because there's an awful lot of things you can't control that happen. Mm-hmm. No matter what we would like to do, things will intervene, planning approvals. I'm not used to construction, but we'll delay and change that. But I think it's always good to have the critical path, and there's lots of ways to do any project because it changes. And what you might intend to do first, you do second, and that sort of thing. So you have a project team and the normal etiquette or normal criteria, and then you have a steering committee. Now in this case, perhaps the steering committee is the projects and amenities, or I don't know how that actually then fits, because the Greater Council has an overall responsibility. But my interest is for the project team, because if you get control of the detail, then hopefully that will give us all benefit. I'm not sure what I'm saying, other than it's a really good idea, and I'd like to be involved with it. So.
Thank you. I'm a bit confused now whether Councillor Lemon was a different proposal, or was it an amendment to the proposal?
There's one proposal on the table at the moment, which is moved by Councillor Bennett, seconded by Councillor Holyoake, that the matter be referred back to the Project and Amenities Committee, and also with a second set of terms of reference drawn up, looking at it being advisory, not a subcommittee, I think. Councillor Lemon has made a suggestion that we remove any financial delegation to subcommittee. Mm. But that's not been seconded.
Point of order, just to respond back to Councillor Moss in regards to his point, you're absolutely spot on. We identified this last year, I believe it was, and that's why we appointed or resolved as a council to appoint a project manager for it. Because of staff absence, holidays, things like this, it just keeps on getting delayed and delayed. And so that's why we said a project manager that would take control of it, start outlining everything we've been screaming for since 2018. So I completely agree with you.
Okay.
Councillor Holyoake.
That was going to be my further amendment or question, really, in terms of it was agreed that we would appoint a project manager. I know Ross is kind of saying it's not reached that point yet. However, for due diligence, for risk assessment, etc., we do need somebody with appropriate expertise to come on board as early as possible to help manage those risks. And, in terms of taken on board what the public perspective, but having an advisory committee, advisory working group, I should say, as part of that, working underneath that project manager, and all reporting into the level which was previously agreed at the Project and Amenities Committee.
So my only comment to that was, I think it would be useful for us to do our own work first before we appoint anybody, because you might end up spending money
That's right.
just drawing the information together that exists,
Yeah.
and all agree that this is the latest plan, this is the grants we've had, you know, this is the budgets that we've had, and just, you know, so this is where we are so far, how will the story change in the future? And then, you know, then you may well choose to appoint somebody that's a
I believe
specialist
that
in
was
this
the
work.
reason why we
That,
didn't go ahead.
the thing is, we haven't even got planning permission for it yet.
No.
And appointing somebody without planning permission is a complete and utter waste of time. Now, the council have dragged their feet, that's 16 months of messing around, and hopefully sometime next week I think we might be able to get a decision.
It's a bit longer than that.
Isn't it?
Councillor Benner?
Just in response, so yes, 2018 was when council resolved to go ahead and start signing deeds, T1 documents, all of that, and we never had a project manager there. We were using the same recommended planning consultants, but we didn't even own the land, and that wasn't actually transferred until 2023. So in that time, one would think if you had a project manager back in 2018, would that pavilion be built, would the cricket pitch be built, and would the progress be continued in a better position? But nobody would know, because we can't go back in time. But that's why I feel, as a councillor, that we should have the right person leading the project with the expertise to do so.
Yeah. So just in response to that, I completely, you know, accept. I don't know the history, but what I do know is, I think just having that focus, and the project manager's not going to fix everything. By the way, there'll still be issues. All the PM's going to do is hopefully keep everybody highlighting the latest issues, progress, hopefully, and, you know, and the position on the project. So, you know, I think that's all we can do from now. I don't mind trying to start that process off. You know, then at least we'll have a pack of information that we can share amongst us and share to others, which I think would be a good thing, because, you know, if we carry on, I'm new to this, but if we carry on as we are doing, and, you know, and it plays out, it is doing, it will never happen. Now, that might suit some people. My view is this is a good thing. You know, it's a good thing for the village, good thing for the youth of the village, not at any cost, not at any way, but, you know, certainly if we don't manage it professionally, it will run on and run on and run on. And, you know, I mean, you all might be retired by then, but that's my view. It just needs some control around it. Obviously, we're relying on, you know, approvals for certain things, but, and obviously fundraising as well, and grants and things. But, yeah, and it just needs to get around it. And then I think one source of truth, this is the plan, this is the budget, this is it.
Councillor Hollywood, did you wish to speak? You've got your hand back
I think Beth answered that. Well, made the same comment I was going to make. So.
Councillor Overton.
My only concern with the proposal is about the strength of feeling for the project, for and against. I think it's positive that we're occasionally seeing it back at full council rather than entirely being dealt with by a committee. I think it's positive that it's proposed that there are non-councillors on this group, and from the extraordinary meeting we agreed to widen the group further. So, you know, I just want scrutiny of that's going to happen however we agree what the next step is.
Just a question, really. I apologise for my ignorance.
No, not at all.
So, understand the reason for these focus groups, projects and amenities and MMC and things, but for something of this magnitude, why is that not always relayed back to full council anyway?
Simply in terms of managing agendas and business, and also meeting frequently. So
no.
council meets once a month, the group will need to meet, also meet in the daytime as well, when other people can be present who can't be in evening meetings. And also it's more envisaged really the subcommittee or the working group, whatever council decides, is a bit more fleet of foot in terms of, you know, people being involved and meeting more frequently and in between council meetings. There's no reason why it can't report back, but the committee structure that we have, the council has adopted, does give committees full delegated powers up to a certain spend limit. So, for instance, when we came to the tenders for the laying out the cricket pitch, I had to come to council because it was £250 million. It was above any committees. So there is a sort of safety check, but it's also about not bringing all business in front of council as well. But But so since the last 3 years, there's been reports at every Project and Amenities Committee meeting of progress on the report and on the project. And most of the delays are well beyond this authority's control. They've been down to planning permissions, Jelson's, lawyers, all of which would have made no difference if there'd been a dedicated project manager. I certainly wouldn't be recommending that. I've spent any money on that in that time because it wouldn't have changed anything, because we can't make Jelson's go faster. We can't make the planning. Go back to Councillor Lemmer's point, which I meant to mention. 2 weeks ago, we had further requests from the planning department at Charnwood Borough Council for more detail, more options, more ways of looking at the plans before they will give further consideration to the planning application. The planning application was submitted in November 2023, so we're approaching 2 years for a planning application, which is incredibly straightforward. You know, it's not even building houses. You know, it's a building. It's basically mostly green space. So it's very frustrating, I think, for all of us that it's taking that long, for whatever reasons that are best known to the Charnwood Planning Department. And we have tried various interventions all the way along and throughout, including the borough councils, the chief executive, the leader of the council, you name it, but we haven't been able to speed the process up.
Councillor Fletcher.
Can I just check a few things? 'Cause I wasn't at the extraordinary meeting. I've read obviously the minutes and some of the details that were online, but it sounded to me like it was the will of the council that this group was set up, and it seems also from reading the stuff on social media and people's comments that was what the public seemed to desire as well. That's correct? Yeah?
No.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
The council voted for
The council voted that the decision making for the project as a whole will stay with Project and Amenities Committee, which Councillor Benner's point. It also said the project working group should continue. My suggestion here is to formalise the project group into a subcommittee. It's not any, just to give it a slightly more formal, well, not slightly, but significantly more formal status than just a working group.
and we tried
It doesn't have
to get the committee together to have the meeting whereby we can agree this or not, but nobody was actually available all at the right time to make it quorum.
Correct.
So it seems to me that it's appropriate that it comes back to council in order to move it along. I mean, we're all aware that it's taking a very long time, and no one wants to steamroller it through. It needs to be done properly. But my proposal would be that that we continue with the forming the subcommittee. It seems that it's reasonable that people have taken reasonable effort to try and get the committee together to make that decision in a timely manner, and that hasn't been possible. We're all here now. You know, we could. We can't just go, oh well, we'll just keep the members of that committee on, because we would have had to have published papers, but we have the option for even more people to have a say, and even more people to go, well actually I'd like to be on that working group.
So your proposal is to go ahead with forming the subcommittee?
What, to vote on whether or not we have the subcommittee, but to form the subcommittee in order to move
I'll
it
second
forward.
We've already
Yes.
resolved on that.
It can't really be
Yeah.
a proposal because it's
No.
negative. It's a total negative to what Councillor Benner's proposed.
Oh,
So
All right,
the
okay.
best, if people don't
Okay, so
support Councillor
withdraw
Blackshaw,
that then.
they would need to vote against what Councillor Benner's proposing. That's
Okay.
the obvious
Okay.
way of dealing with that.
Yeah.
You can't have a direct negative to a motion that's already proposed.
Thank you, Ross.
Thank you. So,
Councillor Benner.
I forgot to mention that I did contact LRLC in regards to advice on this to see where we stood legally, and they did confirm that our standing orders are clear, that the resolution was to bring matters back through to the Projects and Amenities meeting. They checked our current standing orders.
Well, it is correct, yes. It doesn't mean it's not correct that we discuss it here either, I would imagine. I haven't seen the
That was the
advice.
question I asked.
Yeah, right.
That was a direct question I asked.
Well,
That
it would be. I
would we be
agree with that,
lawful?
yes.
And that was their response. I can certainly share the advice with you.
Yeah, that would be helpful. But it is true. Yes, wouldn't argue with that. It would be correct that it's discussed by Project Meetings Committee. It doesn't mean it's not correct. It's discussed by council. That would be my view.
But my question to them would be, the agenda, provided them the paperwork, provided them the minutes, asked the direct question of, are we being lawful by bringing this agenda item to full council? And their response was that, as per your standing orders that have been adopted, give you the dates, it is to be brought back to projects and amenities.
In your opinion?
No, LRALC's opinion, not mine.
I don't know, Chair. It's not been shared with me, so.
No, it's a bit difficult when we just get that information now, isn't it?
Okay, can I ask another question?
Mhm.
Can we continue with the informal working group until
Yeah.
such time as the
Can do, yes.
projects and amenities? And it doesn't seem to me to be what the meeting was sort of pushed for, but that's fine. We carry on with the informal working group.
We can, Chair. I mean, that's been set up by a committee decision in 2021, and it can continue to meet, and then we could take this to Project Amenities Committee. I mean, it's not a huge issue. It's only a matter of timing, really. That's all. From my point of view, that's why I brought it here, to move things along more quickly. But if there are procedural concerns which I'm not aware of, then that might be the best thing to do.
I think you should err on the side of caution, don't you?
Yeah.
So is that a proposal now from council, that we just continue as we are?
Well, it could be an amendment to what Councillor Benner has moved, I suspect, is that it's so, or addition if Councillor Benner is willing to accept it, is that if Councillor Benner's resolution is accepted, but it doesn't, it means that we, well, carry on as we are. It's not saying we don't, so we probably don't need to move it.
Okay.
Because actually all that means that this decision, this paper in front of us here, is referred back to Project Amenities Committee. It doesn't actually alter what is currently happening, which is that Project Amenities Committee have the overall control of the project, and there is already a project or working party that's composed of the same membership.
Still continue.
Yeah, and we should continue because you're not affecting that until you get to the Project Amenities Committee, and then it can decide what it wants to do.
So that would be an amendment.
Well, that would.
We've not moved on, not moved this.
It doesn't need to be an amendment, that's what I'm saying, Chair, because it would.
No, we just need to.
It would be the status quo essentially.
Okay.
But all we're doing is saying if the council wants to err on the side of caution, given what Councillor Benner has said, then this would be referred back to Project Amenities Committee as to whether it wants a subcommittee or a working party. In the meantime, the status quo would prevail.
Okay. Councillor Whittle.
Sorry, at the risk of carrying this on, I just can't see the benefits of maintaining the status quo when the status quo isn't satisfactory considering the strength of feeling in the village.
No.
And that's why we're seeing this paper. That's why we talk about it in this forum, as well as project and amenities. And that's why we're talking about further people coming onto this group. So yeah, I couldn't vote to accept the proposal. I'm not sure what the point would be.
I think we're actually right to err on the side of caution, and actually, all we're proposing, or all that will happen, is this will be considered where it should be considered, where the decision was made that it should be considered, which is at the Projects and Amenities meeting.
With two options.
Sorry? What did you say, Councillor?
With two options.
What do you mean two options?
What are the two
Yes, a subcommittee or a working group.
Yeah. So essentially, this will be before the next Project and Amenities Committee meeting to consider.
So the proposal really is to defer it back to projects and amenities, isn't it?
That's what's been removed, Chair.
That's what's been moved.
Yeah.
And there's two things removed. Just to clarify, my understanding is that one is referred back to Project and Amenities Committee, and Project and Amenities Committee consider two forms of terms of reference, one as a subcommittee and one as a working group.
Okay.
So The difference being a subcommittee has got delegated authority to take decisions and a working group doesn't.
Okay.
Then only the people there can take decisions, myself and so on.
So that's the proposal on the table.
Can I have a name vote, please, Chair?
Sorry?
A named vote, please.
Of course you can. So it was seconded by Councillor Howard. Are we all clear on, because I certainly wasn't, on the proposal, that it's deferred back to the Public and Amenities meeting, and they decide whether it's going to be a subcommittee or a working group?
That's correct, yeah.
Is that correct?
Referred back, yeah.
Seconded by so all those in favour?
No, it's
Oh no, name vote. Councillor Batchelor.
Against.
Councillor Miss.
Against.
Councillor Moss.
This is referring back to project amenities.
Yeah.
I'm in favour.
In favour. Councillor
Against.
against.
For.
Councillor Holyoke is for. Councillor Bennett.
For.
Against.
Against. Councillor Overton is against. Councillor Kendrick. For.
It's your vote, Chair. You haven't voted.
Oh, right, again.
So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 votes for and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 votes against. So that's lost, Chair. So, yeah, is that everybody's agreement for that? No? My counting? Yeah, good. And everybody else is counting.
What are we doing now?
Well, it's up to council now to move something else to just do. So anybody can move something else, i.e. what is in the paper or something different.
Well, I'd like to propose that
Councillor Lemon was proposing, Councillor Batchelor was proposing.
Yeah, I'd like to propose that we set up a subcommittee for the Sports and Recreation Project, and that, but however, I do see the point about the amount of money, so maybe that could be,
Recommended
yeah,
to go back to.
yeah, but recommended to go back to
And that's
council.
it. That's all we're talking about. He's not spending any money.
So is that deleted
Well, if you want
bullet point F?
Yeah, you need to be pretty clear. If
Yeah.
you want to delete that, that's fine, absolutely. So delete the delegated authority
Yeah.
to spend. Yeah.
But to set up the subcommittee with the composition as outlined in the recommendations. So do I have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Do you want a name vote on this one, Councillor?
Yes, please.
Okay.
And then can we name the councillors tonight?
Yes, we should.
Yeah.
Just, it gets things rolling.
Yeah. Councillor Batchelor.
Feel that it was the will of the meeting and the general feeling in the village that we go ahead and move on with this, and that it has a proper term of reference, so I vote for.
For. Councillor Mister.
For.
Councillor Moss.
Absolutely for to do that.
For.
Against. Against. Councillor Holyoke is against. Councillor Bennett.
Against.
Councillor Overton.
For.
Councillor Kendrick. Okay. And I'm for.
Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4 and 3 against.
So the proposal is carried.
So now do we name the councillors who want to come to the committee?
Yes, I think that would be a good idea.
3 or more, it's up to you. I mean, I've suggested 3, but it's entirely up to council how many members it is.
Councillor Holyoke, do you want to go on the committee?
I'm not reached that stage yet. I want to
No.
talk about what's in it. Sorry.
They've moved already onto it.
But there will be we can discuss the content of this, surely.
No.
But your inclusion of, well, we're taking out 20,000,
Yeah.
so it's,
It's not making any monetary decisions.
no, I understand
It's
that.
just getting things rolling.
No, I understand that. But it's about the composition of the committee. Is that gone?
That's gone. That's just
No,
been
we
voted
don't.
on.
No, we're
I think-
voting who goes on the
Now you're voting
subcommittee.
on who's being appointed to it. And Nick's asking if you want to be on that.
Does that question come from me, or does it come from?
No, I'm
No,
just
I think he was
asking
just
you,
asking
as a
you out
councillor,
of courtesy.
if you do,
Oh,
then I'll nominate you, Mr Overton and Mr Moss. Then there's you 3.
yes, I would. And
Because you won't be able to make the daytime, will you? Or will you?
Depends when it is.
Yeah.
Or pending.
Yeah,
I
okay.
mean, mine depends on the days.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
mine
mine
does
as
as
well.
I would
As
suggest,
always, these are the bits that get
Yeah.
difficult.
Well, So I'd like to volunteer myself. I think I've got some relevant experience.
Yeah, thank
I'm
you.
interested in the project proceeding successfully in all terms of the reference. But yeah, I'd like to be part of that committee if possible.
Councillor Hollier?
I feel it would be beneficial as chair of the War Memorial Fields Trust just to be in the loop and have kind of joined up thinking.
Who is that?
So, well, Council members moved 3 people, and 2 have said they will accept the nomination.
Well,
Yeah.
So,
If Councillor Minister is available, then pick 3 from 4, because if some people are not available, then at least you've got 3 councillors.
perhaps you should ask Councillor Overton if he's been.
Councillor Overton, are you willing to...
I'm happy to be nominated. I'm not part of the cricket or football communities in the village, but I see a need for a very, very modest project and to tread very carefully considering the strength of feeling in the village.
Thank you. So the proposal is that Councillor Moss, Councillor Hollier, Councillor Overton become the 3 representatives on this subcommittee.
And Councillor Minister,
And Councillor Minister,
if
that's 4.
you can pick 3 from
Are you
4.
willing to do that? Yeah?
Can I ask a question, Sharon?
Yeah.
Ross, what happens if only 1 or 2 councillors can actually make that meeting? Because I'm kind of aware that a lot of you got jobs.
Yes.
Well, they've got.
Well, there'll be a
It's all going to be
forum,
referred back to the Project and Amenities Committee anyway.
but not
It's
just
just-
as well.
It's
Not
just
with-
getting things rolling.
Well, let's be clear. The subcommittee would have delegated authority to take some decisions, as outlined, but not financial ones, because you've removed that. So it might want to take decisions in terms of, arranging site visits and all things. It's hard to think of things that I don't have delegated power to do, but it might be commissioning more work, for instance. But that would have to be again signed off in terms of the money. So it would be subject to the core of rules of council as applied to subcommittees. So it's a good question. But it would be. It would be the same as a committee, I believe, but I need to check that rather than guess. So it would not be able to take a decision if it wasn't quorum, but it might not need to take a decision. I mean, the current working group arrangements work quite well. It's just occasionally it may be useful for the committee, subcommittee to take a decision. It may not happen very often. It just gives it slightly more formal
So we
status.
we have to before it, wouldn't we? I think it's...
I don't want to start putting him through the standing orders.
I've got the standing order.
It's silent on.
It is, isn't it?
Tinnitus.
Oh,
Doesn't say anything, does it?
No, but I think the advice I would give was that the subcommittee would be the same principles of being a quorum as a committee.
We'd expect that.
Yeah.
how many?
Does that answer your question?
It would be 3 then.
3.
Three.
Yeah.
Well, there's 5 of us going to be there, isn't there?
Well, there's 6 that we've...
Well, 6 to call from.
You could have 6. I mean, I'm suggesting 3 because that's what all I've done is just copy the current arrangements. I'm not proposing anything new in that sense. So, but if the council wanted to have 4 councillors, which obviously improves the chances of being quorum, then it could do it. It doesn't have to have 3 additional ones, which would make the whole membership then 6 members, which is close to a committee of 7. So.
Okay?
Yeah.
So the proposal is that the other members would be Councillor Moss, Councillor Mystery, Councillor Overton and Councillor Holyoke. Do we have a second of that? Can we do it all at once? That they join the subcommittee?
Yes, do all at once.
Oh.
If there's, unless there are any others.
No? Any others? No? No?
Is it seconded, Chair?
Is there a seconder? Councillor Overton? All those in favour? That's correct.
Do my name vote, all right. I'm off. I've got
Thank
to
you.
go.
Hmm? Item 12, to consider the reappointment of myself and Penny Maguire as trustees of the MUC and MCFC, as trustees must be a member of both, or to consider alternative nominations. Penny Maguire has said that she would like to continue, as would I. Do we have any other nominations as trustees?
Is NYC NUC, Mount Sorry United Charities?
Yeah, sorry. It's
Sorry,
like,
sorry, yeah. I
Yeah.
corrected mine. But
I corrected it on the one on the website, but I
Yeah,
hadn't retrieved
yes.
the
Sorry,
paper.
it is, yeah. So it's Matt Sorrell Community Support. Do we have any other nominations? Do we have a seconder that myself and Penny Maguire continue as trustees? Seconded by Councillor Backshaw. All those in favour? Item 13, to consider the proposal for replacement lights at the NMC, which was Appendix 7 and so. Do you want to speak to this?
Chair, briefly, I think the report's self-explanatory. It came, I think, to the MMC committee a while ago, and this is just bringing an up-to-date situation. The reason it's here is, again, that if this, that there's an opportunity to get this work done before we get busy, before Christmas. Well, there is an MMC committee meeting right at the end of the month. It was just the opportunity to get an early decision, if possible, and the opportunity that this gives of making us more sustainable, but also achieving considerable savings over a period of time. Some has already been replaced. This will be replacing the rest of the lighting with LED lighting at the MMC. And I say the committee and council have supported that in the past. It can be entirely funded from the reserves that are set aside for the Memorial Centre. And really, it produces considerable saving over time, as well as the lights last longer. They require less replacement than current lights, and everything points to it being a good way forward. Happy to take questions.
Councillor Bennett?
I propose to go ahead with recommendations 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, 2.4, 2.5 and 2.6.
Thank
So
you.
all the recommendations.
Do we have any?
I'll second that, because I think
Second,
it's a really good move.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And we're quite happy to take a vote or say what we want to say. Okay. So that's second. All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you very much. Close the meeting. 2028. Thank you, James. Thank you very much. Thank you to members of the public for attendance.